Hello everyone, and in this video we're going to be looking at how you can clean up data using filters in MotionBuilder. So filters are a handy algorithm asset that comes inside of MotionBuilder, and if you look at the resource panel here and go to filters, no filters are going to show up because we don't have a skeleton selected at the moment. But basically what you could do is you could select the start and an end that you want to apply the filter to, and then bake it down to the animation. And this comes in really handy when you need to clean up certain animations. And there's one in particular filter that I like to use that helps to clean up jitter on your animations. And you might be getting some jitter from the motion capture system at school, or even some motion capture that you get online from either Mixamo or some other repository resource. So for this particular lesson here, what we're going to do is we're going to use animation from the same repository that I have posted in this week's module for class. It's like 4,000 free motion capture files. It's a setup from Carnegie Mellon that they did years ago for like a research grant or something. But anyway, if I go into my folder here, I've got this 1_02 BVH file, and I'll drag this in. And this animation's got some pretty strong issues with jitter, and I believe it was because it was filmed using a ladder, and maybe the person was shaking quite a bit, and you could tell the motion capture system was having some issues. So just like we did in the last video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the joints here on the model, and then head over to the properties panel, and I'm going to reduce the size of these just to get something a little bit more manageable. There's a few more joints here that I might need to resize, so I'll grab those as well. Okay, there we go. So I'll select this one, and I'll reduce the size of that. Actually, they're all pretty big. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to go to my scene, open up the BVH reference, and select all the branches, and bring all of them down uniformly. There we go. So that's a much better, cleaner way of doing this. Alright, so I've reduced the size of these, and let's give it a quick playthrough to preview what the motion capture animation looks like. So the character moves around and then climbs up a ladder, and you can see here specifically on the feet there is a ton of jitter going on here. And this would be a nightmare if we didn't have a motion capture system available to us to re-record. But MotionBuilder gives us some nice features to be able to possibly work with this footage, because the rest of the footage is pretty decent. The walk cycle, the walk movement, the arm movement. It just seems like the hands and the feet have a decent amount of jitter on them. So this is where filters can be pretty useful in MotionBuilder. So I'm going to rewind this back to the beginning of the animation, and what you're going to want to do is select all of the joints here. So if you don't already have them selected, make sure you select the hips of the BVH file, and then what you could do is go to select branches, and make sure you have all the branches selected. If you go to filters here now, so the filters tab is under resources, you can see here that now we have a bunch of filters that we can use on these joints. And we could either apply it to the motion capture animation that we have here, or when we retarget it to a character. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use my favorite filter here, which is Butterworth. Butterworth is a really nice filter for cutting out the frequency that joints are able to rotate or translate within a given frame. And right now the cutoff frequency is set to 7. We're going to reduce this quite a bit to hopefully get rid of the jitter here. So to use the filter, you got to give it a start and an end time. So you could always cut up animations so they start and end where you want them to. In this particular case, we're just going to do the entire animation. So I'm going to go to the beginning, make sure you're here at the beginning, and it says set start. We're going to click on set start, so it's going to set start is 0. And then to quickly move the playhead to the end, I'm just going to click on the advanced feature here in the playhead controls. Go to the end and then click on set stop, and you'll see it sets the stop on frame 2173 in this particular example. Now the filter gives you this preview option. So right now if I hit preview, it'll do a quick calculation here. And if I rewind the animation and hit play and watch, we should see some reduced jitter here. And it's reduced, but it's still kind of flickering a little bit, right? So that's where that frequency, cutoff frequency comes in. So if I stop this and rewind it to beginning, I'm going to change the frequency here. And if you just click and drag this, I'm going to change it to 3 and then hit preview. And hit play. And now if we watch the feet here, lot less jitter. I mean, it's very, very minimal. Like we could probably even mistake that for some secondary movement of some toe action there. Same thing with the hands. Much, much, much smoother. So we can accept this, right, onto our animation. So if I hit accept, it'll accept it. And now when we play through, it shouldn't have that jitter on the animation anymore. And you could do this when it's on the character. You could do this when it's just the motion capture data on the skeleton like we have here. It really doesn't make a difference. So what we're going to do now is we're going to characterize this to a character and then plot it. So we're going to define skeleton. So up in the human IK area, I'm going to go to define skeleton. And inside of our reference, what we could do is I could select reference and then select the branches and then drag the reference into the reference here, the characterization. Drags all that stuff in. Just like before, this one's a little bit offset from the 90-degree T-pose, so I'm going to try to fix that again. So I'm going to go into the lower back, and then spine, and then grab the 2 shoulders by holding Shift, right-click on it, and then I'm going to select the branches, and then go to 0 rotation. And that'll 0 the rotation on the arms again. And just to show you guys, you can also lock this feature down from here by clicking on lock, clicking on the lock icon, and it's going to ask you what you want to do. We're going to do biped, and you can see it checks off the characterize here and characterizes the definition of that skeleton. So I'm just going to rename this real quick. I'm going to go in here and call it ladder data. And just as we've done before, you can now characterize this to whatever character you want. So I'm going to go back to my asset browser here, go back to tutorials. I'm going to drag in another Agor with no animation. Just accept the error here. And if I select Agor from the character in the human IK panel, then go to the source and select ladder data and hit play. Let's just check to make sure that our cleanup on the foot jitter is gone. You can see there's still a little bit there, but it's a lot better than it was before. And we were able to clean up that data without deleting any keys, smoothing out any tangents on your animation curves. Really helps simplify that process. And what it's doing is it's just looking at the waveform using an algorithm and checking the frequency of the waveform and reducing it globally across the amount of frames that you have selected. Alright, so it looks pretty good. Just real quickly though, I just want to show you guys if, so what I'll do is I'll remove the animation data from the scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot this animation data to him. So I'm going to go to bake, plot to skeleton. Make sure all of my plotting data is correct. And then what we could do is remove the motion capture data from the scene. So I'm going to select the BVH reference, select all the branches, and then delete, and then hit yes, yes to all, delete character, yes to all, and that will get rid of the original motion capture data from the scene. And if I hit play, Agor still does his thing. Now, Control A on the keyboard will cycle through the different view modes. Control A. And what I want to do here is I want to select Agor's character skeleton. So I'm just going to open them up in the scene and then select the branches here from here. So now that I have all of those selected, I just want to show you guys that there are other filters that you can use here, and you need to have the joint selected to be able to actually see the filters. So there's some for reducing the keying. There's also, you can apply a gimbal killer filter to this, which will cause any gimbal lock errors to hopefully get fixed. You also have another regular key reducer. Smooth is another one that you can use, and smooth transition is another one that you can use to help with some jitter on your animations. And there's also resample that you can use, but I find that the best one is Butterworth. That one usually, it's almost even good to just put a Butterworth filter on any animation that you record to begin with, because that helps to get rid of any anomalies that came through in the motion capture system. There are also other tools for doing this emotive as well. So if you want to explore some of those ideas, definitely open up the motion capture laptop in the lab and check out some of the features for being able to add filters to your rigs. But anyway, we've got Agor completely plotted, so I'm going to save him. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I've got this climb plot, so I'm just going to overwrite this one. And notice I use _plot here. You could use plot or plotted. I like to do this because I want to make sure that my animations are plotted, and we're going to basically make another animation in the next scene that combines both of the animations that we created here. So I'm going to click on Save, overwrite the file, and that'll be it. So in the next video, we're going to take a look at Story Mode, which is this tab here. Story Mode is basically like almost like a video editor. If you've done any video editing in like Premiere or After Effects, it's like editing video but for motion capture. You're able to bring in different clips and splice them together and create new animations from those clips, even match the movement to one another if the character is in a completely different position. So we're going to be taking a look at that in the next video.